So we're looking at our practice test, and we're like halfway through the second one. So let me go ahead and shut the door so we don't get so much noise. Everyone's a little wild today, it seems like. All right, so I'm on practice test 2, and I am problem number 12, and it says expand. Okay, so remember, next time I see you, you will be doing this on your own. It's a long way away. Try to stay fresh and maybe redo some stuff before Tuesday. All right, here we go. We're going to expand. Now, when we expand it, we have to have some coefficients, some numbers, and then we'll have some 2x's and some 3y's. So the numbers are either going to come from the 4th row of Pascal's triangle, the 4th row, or they're going to be the C numbers. And by C numbers, I mean 4C4, 4C3, or actually I should spread these out a little bit. 4C4, 4C3, 4C2, 4C1, and 4C0. Now again, you do not have to get them that way. You can get them straight from the triangle if you want to. All right? And if you get them from the triangle, or if you type these in on your calculator, the numbers that you will get, 4C4, if I type it in on my calculator, is 1, 4C3 is 4, 4C2 is 6, 4C1 is 4, and 4C0 is 1. Those are exactly the same as the 4th row of the triangle. Those are the numbers you would get when you type these into your calculator. Okay? Now, next to each of those numbers is going to be a 2x and a 3y. The two parts of the binomial that you are multiplying out. Okay? Now, you got to put the exponents on. So the exponents on the x, are the first term here, are going to start with 4 and count down. And then we're going to do the same thing with the y's, the other direction. These are separate terms, so I'm going to put big plus signs between them because there are, 1, 2, 3, 5 terms up here, and now I have to simplify each one. So this is my first term. Anything to the 0 is 1. So that's like, I don't have to worry about that or that. So 16x to the 4th, because the power goes with the number and the letter. So 16, 2 to the 4th, x to the 4th. Plus, same thing here. I've got a 4, an 8x cubed, and a 3y. Now that is all multiplied. So 4 times 8 times 3, 96 x cubed y. You have a calculator, use a calculator to help you simplify that. The big thing to remember is that each term is being multiplied. All right, so here we go. 6 times 4x squared times 9y squared. You got to square the numbers and the letters. So I've got 6 times 4 times 9. Is that 216? I better check that on my calculator to be sure. Or someone out there can help me. 6 times 4 times 9. Yep, 216. Okay. And then here we've got 4 times 2x times 27y cubed. So is that 216 again? Check it and see. Yep. And then here on the end, again, anything to the 0 is 1. So this is 81 y to the 4th. And that is your expanded polynomial, or your expanded binomial. Does anybody have a question about where I got one of those numbers? Any of the numbers in the problem? We all good? All right. Next, we've got same kind of problem, but instead of finding all the terms, these are all the terms down here at the bottom, we're only going to find one of them. And the one we're going to find is the 5th. So we have x minus 2y to the 8th, and we're going to find the 5th term. Okay? So here we go, the 5th term. If we wrote out the whole thing the way I just did here, my coefficients, my numbers, would be the 8, no, the combination 8 numbers, the 8C numbers. So the first term would be 8C8, and then 8C7, 8C6, 8C5, 8C4. And that's the one I want, because I want the 5th one. It's to the 8th power, so 8C8, 8C7, 6, 5, 4. That one is the 5th, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 5th one in the list. So that's the number that I want. So I need 8C4, and that's 70. Now remember, you could also get that number from Pascal's triangle, but you'd have to work it out all the way to the 8th row. And this test is not going to have, you're not going to have all period. It's not a very long test. So you want to be careful about not doing things that take forever. All right, so 70, next to 70, we're going to put an x and a negative 2y. Those are the two parts of the problem. If I were doing the whole thing, in the first term, the power on the x would be 8. And here it would be 7, 6, 5, 4. So the power on the x is 4, just from counting down. If that's a 4, this is a 4, because they got to add up to 8. And now I'll simplify. So I have 70, x to the 4th. Now everything in there gets to the 4th, so it's going to be 16 y to the 4th. Remember, a negative times a negative times a negative times a negative is going to be a positive. So I got to multiply my 70 and my 16. And there is the 5th term of that expansion. All right, Alyssa pointed out to me this morning that I never showed you the formula for the P's. Let's review the C's. The formula for the C's. If this were 9C5, what would that formula be?
9 factorial over 4 factorial, 5 factorial.
Perfect. So we start with this number goes on top, then we subtract these two, and then we put that one. Those go on the bottom. So the subtraction and that number go on the bottom. All right, everybody remember that? That's where you set it up. Now, the P's are exactly the same. We have the 9 on the top, factorial, but the only thing on the bottom, there's only one thing on the bottom, and it's the subtraction. So it would be 9 factorial over 4 factorial. So the setup is basically the same. but the combinations have that number on the bottom also, and the permutations do not. So this would be 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 over 4, 3, 2, 1. So all that's going to cancel. And now we have a bunch of stuff to multiply. So I'm going to plan better when I give you your test. I'm going to use my calculator to multiply all that stuff. It'd be 15120. Usually when we start canceling, we're only left with a couple of things. Here I was left with a whole bunch because of the numbers I picked. But that's the setup. Right there's the setup. And you write it all out, cancel what you can, and then your answer is whatever's left multiplied together. All right, so one more time. Combinations are the first number factorial over subtract and that number. So subtract, get 4 factorial, that number 5 factorial. Permutations are exactly the same. That on top, and then you subtract and you're done. All right, now we have our Venn diagram. It's got A's and B's. And we're told that the probability of A, that P means probability, the probability of A is 0.65. Do not ever put that number in your diagram. Don't put a 0.65. No, 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 no. That number does not go in the diagram. Either does this one. That number does not go in the diagram. This one does go in the diagram, because what does this notation mean? The probability of
A and B.
A and B, that's right. This is A and B. So that has a spot in the diagram. Now, as soon as you put that in the middle there, then you can fill in the rest of the spaces in the diagram. Because if the whole A ball is 0.65, but that part of it is 0.55, then this part must be 0.10. And if the whole B ball is 0.8, but this much of it's 0.55, then this must be 0.25. Now, what do these numbers add up to?
0.9.
Okay, which means what? If 0.9 is in the circles, 0.1 is outside, that's right, because when you're dealing with the probabilities, the P is probability. When you're dealing with the probabilities, it always has to add up to 1. All right, so now we're ready. So now the diagram's done, but we have to answer the questions now. So this question says, not A and B. So you're not in the A circle, but you are in the B circle. So which of those people are in B but not in A?
0.25.
Yep, those guys right there. They're in the B circle, but they're not in the A circle. These guys are also in the A circle. So it's just the 0.25. What does this mean?
Neither circle.
You're not in either circle. You're not in the A or the B. So that means you are one of these guys, right? Okay. Now it looks like we have the same chart we had last time. And we're going to just answer some more questions. So, what is the probability that neither like science? So remember, you're picking one kid out of each class, and neither one likes science. Okay? So, What's the probability of not science in class 1?
1.7/2.
Okay, I don't know where you're going. Are you on the back, problem 16 of practice test 2?
Yep. I added all the decimals together and got 2, and then subtracted the 3 for science.
Okay, that's not what we do. All right.
So,
When we pick somebody out of class 1, we're going to pick somebody out of class 1. The probability that person doesn't like science is 0.9. Those are the non-science people. Everybody except science. Now I'm going to pick somebody out of class 2 who also doesn't like science, so that would be 0.8. And since I am picking 1 out of class 1 and 1 out of class 2, I'm going to multiply those two things together and I get 0.72. All right, Maitland, you got that?
yeah.
Okay. Now, I want the first class kid to like English. Well, the probability the first class kid likes English is 0.2. And the second class kid likes math, that would be 0.4. So the probability that first likes English and second likes math is 0.08. Both like English. Well, the first class is 0.2 and the second class is 0.3, so that's 0.06. That's both like English. Now the next one is the one that you have to really think about because it says one will like math and the other will like art. Well, in the first class, math is 0.6, and in the second class, art is 0.1. So that would be 0.06 going math and then art. But unlike question B, it doesn't say that it has to be math first and then art. So it could also be art and then math. So first class art is 0.1, second class math is 0.4, so that's 0.04. Now, I've got this probability for the math art order. I have this probability for the art math order. It could be either one of those, right? So what am I going to do with those two numbers since it's this one or this one? You add them. You add them. I didn't have to do that with problem B because problem B said do this first and this second. Problem D just says I want to have one of each, and I don't know what order they're coming. All right. Can't tell if you guys are awake or asleep. Here we go. One more practice test. Here we go. Problem 1. How many outfits can I make if I have 10 jumpers, 12 shirts, and 2 pair of shoes?
You multiply?
You just multiply them. You just multiply them. You've got 10 ways to pick a jumper. You got 12 ways to pick a shirt, and you got 2 ways to pick a pair of pants. So that's going to be 240. There are 240 of them. Number 2, how many ways can 8 people be seated around a bonfire?
7 factorial.
Big deal, 7 factorial. Now remember, you're going to type all this in and get answers. I'm not going to take the time to do it because I want to get through this whole thing. but you would work that out and get an answer. How many ways can you answer 10 multiple choice questions if each question has 3 options? So think about the answer sheet for this test. There are the 10 answer blanks. How many choices do you have for the first answer blank?
3.
3. And how many for the second answer blank?
3.
So you are just going to multiply 3 times 3 times 3 times itself 10 times, right? So you can do that on your calculator, just 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, or you can say that's 3 to the 10th power. Either way, you're going to come up with a number, though, guys. You're going to come up with a big number as your answer. What is the probability of being dealt a 5-card hand with exactly 4 hearts? It's a probability question. So I have drawn my fraction here. This is going to be a fraction. What's going to go in the denominator of the fraction?
52C5.
Bingo. That's going in the denominator of every card problem you do that deals with probability and a 5-card hand. That's going to be your denominator. Now, what's your numerator? We want exactly 4 hearts. So what do you think?
5C4.
13C4. Because there are 13 hearts, and I have to pick 4 of them. 13 hearts, I'm picking 4. But there's a piece missing here. What's missing?
1 card.
1 card. It's a 5-card hand, folks. So far, I've only picked 4. Where's the other one going to be? What kind of card is the other one going to be?
Any type of card?
Anything except a heart, right? Because I got to have exactly 4 hearts. So how many cards are there that aren't hearts in the deck? $39. Guys, if 13 of them are hearts and there's 52 altogether, aren't we just going to subtract? There's 39 of them and I want 1. This is 4 hearts and 1 not heart. You have to be on your toes because the problem talks about the 4 hearts, but it doesn't talk about that one. You have to notice that, oh my gosh, I need another card. What's the probability of being dealt a 5-card hand that has all face cards? Won't my denominator be the same? Why, yes, Mrs. Ford, it will, because anytime we're doing a 5-card hand with probability, the denominator will be 52C5. What's all face cards going to look like?
C5.
5?
Yeah.
Picking 5 cards, so it'd be 12C5. Now, where did she get the 12, folks? She's right. She's exactly right. Remember, there's a Jack, King, Queen of every suit. So Jack, King, Queen clubs, Jack, King, Queen spades, and so on and so on. There's 4 suits, 12 face cards. So there are 12 face cards. I'm picking all 5. That's my numerator. All right, what do you think about number 6? What will be our strategy here?
Venn diagram?
Yeah, that's a Venn diagram problem. So we've got 80 kids in the room. Everybody likes matrices or vectors. Now, that's important When they say everybody likes one or the other or both, that means there's no people out here. That means all 80 are in this circles. If 48 of them love matrices and 42 of them love vectors, do not put those numbers in the diagram. Those are the whole circles. How many like only vectors? Well, what do you notice about 48 and 42?
Equals more than 80.
Yeah. How much more? What's it equal? It equals 90, doesn't it? So that means there's 10 in the middle here. Because if you had 90 votes and you only have 80 people, then that means 10 people voted twice, both times. So now I can fill in my circles. If this whole thing's 48, this would be 38. And if this whole thing's 42, this would be 32. Now I can answer the question, how many like only vectors? What's the answer to the question if they like only vectors?
32.
Yep, so 32 is the answer to the question. Those people right there like only vectors. All right, number 7. How many committees of 5 Republicans and 3 Democrats can be chosen from a group of 10 Republicans and 7 Democrats? So this is my total group, but I'm picking 5 of these and 3 of these. Who's got an idea? Come on, wake up, guys. Come on, we got a test coming up. Johnny, I can't see your face. Nina, I can't see your face. Trey, don't see your face. Let's go.
It's 10C5 times 7C3.
Exactly. That's the answer to the question. She is picking 5 from the Republican pile and 3 from the Democrat pile. This is exactly the same as a card problem. Only instead of hearts and face cards or something, we've got Republicans and Democrats. Those would be multiplied together, and that would be the answer to the question. Nicely done. Okay. How many ways can 4 unruly students be lined up in the hall?
4 factorial.
Bingo. I don't care who they are, what they are. Unruly, good, bad, dogs, chairs. It doesn't matter. If I'm lining it up in the hallway, it's 4 factorial. How many ways can I give 5 identical pencils to different students in a class of 8? So that 8 students in my room, and I'm going to give away 5 identical pencils. What's that going to look like?
8C5.
Oh yeah, 8C5. They're identical pencils, so that's going to be 8C5. That's exactly right. They are identical. So I have 8 kids, and I'm going to pick 5 of them. 8C5. Calculator. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 letters, okay? So I'm going to start with 10 factorial, right? You always start with however many letters you have, so it's 10 factorial. Now, what do I have duplicates of? 2 C's, 2 L's, 2 A's, and I think that's it. So if you have a calculator handy, would you type that in for me? I just want to make sure everybody does it right. You need to have parentheses around this bottom. If you are dividing by all of these things, you need to have it in parentheses. Let's make sure everybody can do that. The answer you should get is 453,600. So 453,600. Everybody typing that in and getting that number? Okay, one more on this page. If it rains, the probability that Tim does his homework, if it doesn't rain, okay. What do you think would be a good strategy to try with this problem?
Tree diagram.
Yep, it's gonna be a tree diagram for sure. So here we go. So let's see, I just have to figure out what's gonna come on what level here. So the question is, what is the probability that Tim will do his homework? So I'm gonna have homework and no homework as my bottom rung. My bottom branches here are the homework. So this is gonna be rain and no rain. All right, everybody good so far? So you're gonna put in the numbers now. If it rains, the probability he does it is 0.65. If it doesn't rain, the probability he does it is 0.32. There is a 10% chance of rain tomorrow. Now, I went ahead and stuck in a whole bunch of numbers. I put in all the ones in the problem, but I also put in other ones. Where did those other ones come from?
When you add up to 100.
Exactly. Each of these little V things has to add up to 100% or 1. So once I knew that was 10, then I knew that was 90 and
Miss
so
Ford?
on. Yes.
Sam said he just got logged out, but he's trying to get back on.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So now what do? My job is to find homework. So my job is to find these two probabilities. Those are the homeworks. So what do I do to get those numbers?
Multiply them through.
Multiply the branch. So I'm going to take 0.1 times 0.65. Oh, I guess I did wrong. I need a calculator for that, but oh well. And then I'm going to multiply 0.9 times 0.32. Because that's this branch. You got to do the whole branch. You got to start at the top and follow the road down and multiply all the numbers. So now what do? I have two separate answers now. I have the rain homework and I have the no rain homework. What do? Add them. So the answer, final answer to the problem is 0.353. Okay? All right, the next one says I'm going to expand. And what I'm going to expand is 3x minus y to the 5th. So we already did one of these today. What do I do first?
5 and 5.
Okay, I need my numbers, and I'm either going to get the numbers by doing these combinations like this, or I could get the numbers from Pascal's triangle, right? you wanted to write out 5 rows of Pascal's triangle, you could get them. But 5C5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Now, you need to know what these numbers are. So to get these numbers, I need to know what are the actual numbers. To get the numbers, I would type it in on my calculator. 5C5, I know what they are, so to save time, 5C5 is 1. I'll type in 5C4, 5C3, 5C2, 5C1, and 5C0. So once you figure out what C numbers you're using, you then have to figure out what they actually are. Okay? Now what? Now I figured out all my numbers. With my calculator's help, I figured out what the actual numbers are. Now what?
Put in the 3x. Isn't it negative?
It is. So it's 3x and negative y. Next to each of these is going to go a 3x and a negative y. Okay? Now, these are all separate terms, so keep in mind, those are all separate terms. So now I'm going to put in my exponents, starting right here with the 3x, and I'll make it a 5 because of that right there. And then I'll count down. And then the y's, same thing. Okay, now, anything to the 0 power is 1. So really, I just have to worry about this. So 3 to the 5th is 243. Nobody's expecting you to have that memorized. You have a calculator. 3 to the 5th, 243. X to the 5th. Now, here, I have to multiply a 5 times an 81 x to the 4th times a negative y. So you are multiplying a 5, an 81, and a negative 1. So that's going to be negative 405 x to the 4th y. All the numbers get multiplied. 5, 81, negative 1. Here, I have 10 times 27x cubed times y squared. I'm squaring a negative, so it becomes positive. So that's 270 x cubed y squared. All right, do this next one. What's this next term going to be? Right here, this one that above my hand. Figure out what that term's going to be. Shout it out when you think you've got it.
90x squared y third.
Perfect, except it's negative 90 x squared y cubed. Because when you cube a negative, it's still negative. So we have a 10, a 9, and a negative 1. So negative 90 x squared y cubed. This one is just going to be 15 xy to the 4th. This is just to the first power, so that's just 5 times 3 times x. And then a negative to an even power is positive, so 15 xy to the 4th. And then minus y to the 5th, because none of that matters, just this matters. Who's got a question about that? All right, we got another one just like that, except luckily we do not have to write it all out. because this one is 2x minus 3y to the 10th. Oh my gosh. Can you even imagine writing this all out? Luckily, we don't need to. But we need to do basically the same thing. We need to figure out our number. Well, this time, our numbers will be the 10C numbers. So 10C10, 10C9, 10C8. I'm stopping right there because it says I want the third term. So 1, 2, 3. Everybody clear with that? Don't write out any more. There's no point in it. You only want the third one. So then I go to my calculator and I do 10C8, and I think that's 45. But somebody can check me to make sure. Now next to that number is going to go a 2x and a negative 3y. In the first term, if I had a 2x, it would be to the 10th. Here would be the 9th, here it's to the 8th. If that's an 8, that's a 2, because they got to add up to 10. Anybody have a question about that setup? All right, then I've got 45. Now, 2 to the 8th is 256, x to the 8th. And negative 3 squared is 9y squared, positive 9y squared. So now I multiply 45 times 256 times 9. So 103,680 x to the 8th y squared. All right, are we okay? Let's see a thumbs up if we're okay with that. I see some thumbs coming up. Jameson, as usual, I can't even see you. Jameson, thank you. All right, number 14 now is a C. I'll do the P2 just for practice, but this one is a C. So 8C5. So what does the formula say? Always start with 8 factorial. Then in a C problem, you have the 3 factorial and the 5 factorial. If this were a P problem, we would only have the 3 factorial in the bottom. Only the subtraction goes in the bottom. All right, so for your C problem, which is the one on the paper, now you have to simplify. So that's 8 times 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, over 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 3 factorial and 5 factorial. Now you cancel however you want to cancel. It makes me no difference at all, just start canceling. I'm going to wipe out all of that. 3, 2, 1 is 6. So I think I've done this problem before. 56 is what I got as my answer. Is that what you got? Okay, now we got our probability Venn diagram. And we have m's and n's, that doesn't change anything. And we know that the probability of m is 0.62, and the probability of n is 0.75, and the probability of m and n is 0.51. So while I'm writing the problem here, hopefully you are starting to fill in your diagram. Do we put the 0.62 somewhere? No, no, no. These never go into the diagram because they represent the whole circle and you can't do that. This one can go in the diagram. That says your M and N, so, I don't know, macaroni and noodles, you're right here. What does that mean about this piece out here?
0.11.
Yep. And what about this piece right here?
0.24.
Yep, perfect. Now, let's add them all up. Because we know the whole box is supposed to be worth 1 or 100%. So what do we get when we add them all up? What do all these add up to?
86.
86. So 0.86, what does that tell me then? If these are 0.86,
0.14 is outside.
yep, 0.14 is outside. All right, now, this says, I like macaroni, but I don't like noodles. So I'm in the M ball, but I am not in the N ball. How many is that?
0.11.
Yep, that's these folks right here. What does this mean?
Not macaroni or
Yeah, I'm not in either ball. I don't like either one. So that would be the 0.14 people. Does that make sense to everybody? All right, one more set of problems to go. This is our chart. So here we go. What is, okay, so the charts are there. We're gonna pick one kid at random from each class. What is the probability they both like English? Well, English from class 1 and English from class 2 would be 0.06. David Perry, is this making sense to you?
Yes.
All right, B says, I want the first student to like math. All right, so that'd be 0.6. And I want the second one to like art, so that's 0.1, so 0.06 again for the answer. And unless we're really confident, we're gonna use our calculator to do this multiplication to make sure our decimal points are in the right spot. Neither is science, all right? So look at class 1. How much is not science? Not science.
0.9.
0.9. And in class 2, how much is not science?
0.8.
Yep. So when I multiply those, I get 0.72. Now, do you recognize that D is different than B? Because B said we had math first and then art. All D says is that we have science and math. So it could be science first and then math, or it could be math and then science. There is no mandated order in problem D. All right, so let's suppose it's science then math. So science from first and math from second would be 0.04. Math from first Did I just do this? Is this the same problem? And science from second. No, this is different. Math from first, science from second is 0.2, yep. All right, did I do that right? 0.1, 0.4, 0.6, 0.2, yep, and that's 0.12. What do I do with those two numbers now? Add them. So our answer is 0.16. When I add those together, 0.16. Okay? Now, I'll do whatever you want me to do. We got a couple minutes left. I'll do whatever you want to do. I do want to clarify one thing that I think it was just an accidental thing they said on CHS Live this morning. It is 1 bonus point for 1 box of cereal or Pop-Tarts, 2 bonus points for 2 boxes, but that's where it stops. He said, and so on and so on, and it's not and so on and so on. So please don't bring in 50 boxes of cereal unless you just want to donate 50 boxes, because the maximum points you can get is 2. All right, Lily, who's poking their head there in that picture?
The kids I'm babysitting.
Oh, okay. All right, so does everybody understand 1 bonus point or 2 bonus points for the cereal? Okay, all right. Well, we got 2 or 3 minutes to go. Is there anything that we have just reviewed that you feel like one more practice problem might help? All right, I'll see you on Tuesday, and I'm expecting great things on this test then. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.